They always say you can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat you when they no longer need you. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. I learned that the hard way, on live television with the cameras rolling and a nation watching. But before the bright lights and the betrayal, there were the silent years. The years no one ever clapped for. The years when I held everything together so that Daniel could rise. We met in a cramped university lab, elbow deep in circuit boards and ramen cups. Daniel was the idea guy, visionary, brilliant, insatiably ambitious. I was the quieter one, the planner, the one who kept the whiteboards clean and the deadlines met. Back then, he used to joke that we were like Tesla and Edison rolled into one, except he got to be both. And I let him. First it was love. Pure electric love. We stayed up all night building prototypes and dreaming about starting our own tech company. Daniel swore he'd never let the industry swallow him. He didn't want investors telling him how to innovate. He wanted to change the world on his terms. I believed him. I married him. We moved into a tiny apartment in San Jose. Barely enough space to fit our folding table and custom-built servers. I worked 2 jobs, admin assistant by day, waitress by night, while Daniel coded, soldered, dreamed. When our lights got shut off that first winter, I wrapped my arms around him and said, "Don't stop. I'll figure it out." He kissed my forehead like I was made of gold. He told everyone I was the reason he hadn't quit. When his software, Neurospan, finally got funding, the checks had both our names on them. When he incorporated the company, it was under both our initials, D&M Innovations. But over time, M faded from the narrative. First it was Daniel's breakthrough, then Daniel's startup, and eventually just Daniel. At media events, I was no longer his partner. I was Daniel's wife. At board meetings, I was told to take notes, not speak. And when I raised concerns, I was met with a smile that didn't reach his eyes and a patronizing, "Let me handle this." I swallowed it all. For the company. Was. Until the night I found the text. "She's nothing without you. Just sign what your lawyer sent, babe. You don't owe her your empire." The message blinked on his laptop screen while he was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. It just popped up while I was looking for his presentation notes. The contact name was Sienna. She was his PR consultant, or so I thought. The next day, he asked me to sign a stack of routine documents. "Just updates to our PR contracts," he said. Something about IP protection. Boring stuff. Legal jargon. He'd never made me sign anything alone before. So I read every page, every single line, and tucked away in the middle of a supposedly harmless waiver, there it was, Clause 42B, intellectual property reversion upon executive signature. It was legal gold. The clause meant that should the executive sign off with no objections, all listed intellectual property created during a shared developmental period would revert back to the original creator if not previously claimed. That was me. I had helped code the core of Neurospan. My name was on the drafts. My notes were in the margins. My fingerprints were all over the first iterations. He just never thought I'd keep proof. And now he was giving me the perfect window. I signed with witnesses. Filed. I dated it. I had it notarized. And I made copies. He never even blinked. 2 weeks later he took me to the Tech World Awards. He wore a navy tux. I wore the same dress I wore to our 5th anniversary because he forgot to confirm the stylist. Sienna walked ahead of us, clipboard in hand, camera ready. And then the moment came. We were seated at the front table, champagne glasses full, lights low. Daniel was called on stage to accept the Visionary of the Year award. His acceptance speech began well enough. Gracious, grateful, grand. Then his voice changed. "It's been a long journey," he said, smiling wide. "And I couldn't have done it without the many people who pushed me forward. My team, my investors. And yes, my past. Even the person I used to call my partner. Laughter rippled. She's not here tonight, but she was a great lesson in trusting your own instincts. In knowing when to let go of anchors that weigh you down. I sat there frozen. Everyone turned to look at me. Some in confusion. Others in barely hidden amusement. I felt my throat close. My hands trembled around the glass stem. That night, I didn't speak a word in the car. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Daniel didn't apologize. He only said, "It's PR, Maya. Grow up." The next morning I made one phone call. To Russell Kravitz, the attorney Daniel had fired 2 years earlier after an ethics disagreement. Russell had liked me. He had quietly kept records of everything. Emails, agreements, even early code registrations where I was listed as co-author. "You're calling about the clause, aren't you?" he said the second he answered. "Yes," I whispered. "You've got him." From that moment, I stopped being the silent wife in the background. Russell helped me prepare everything. The timeline, the evidence, the contracts, the filing. I moved out quietly, took only what was mine, and let him think I was too broken to fight. Because while Daniel was scheduling press interviews and basking in his own arrogance, I was preparing a legal hurricane. And I wasn't just coming for what he owed me. I was coming for everything. When you've spent your life being the quiet one, people forget you're watching. They forget you remember everything. Daniel thought I left quietly. That I wouldn't fight. That I'd just disappear like a deleted file on his desktop. He had no idea I had backups. By the time he realized what I was doing, it was too late. The first hit landed on a Tuesday. Russell and I filed a cease and desist order through federal court against the distribution of Neurospan's core update package, citing unauthorized use of proprietary code that belonged, according to our attached evidence, to me. I knew Daniel's team would panic. Neurospan 5.0 was days away from public launch. A delay would mean financial penalties, media backlash, and a furious board of directors. He called me within 30 minutes. "Maya," he said, calm and charming. "This is obviously a mistake. You don't want this. Let's talk." I didn't answer. He tried again. "You've always hated lawyers. Come on, it's me." That time I answered. "No, Daniel. It's not you anymore. It's just the contract." Hung up. He didn't call again after that. He sent lawyers instead. Then came the audit. Because of the document he signed, the one with Clause 42B, Russell was able to trigger a retroactive ownership review. That meant all early-stage work would be analyzed for authorship. Russell had already compiled folders, flash drives, time-stamped notes, even old voicemails where Daniel credited me directly. They tried to bury me in paperwork. I buried them in proof. One of the emails Russell submitted was from Daniel's own inbox, dated 6 years earlier. "Maya's neural link code just solved the lag issue. She's 10 steps ahead of me." They'd made the mistake of underestimating what a woman can do when she's no longer afraid to lose everything. In the public eye, Daniel's shine began to fade. At first, he laughed off the legal threat in interviews. "It's just procedural," he said. "A miscommunication. Maya's always been passionate about the project. We'll clear it up." But then TechWorld ran a headline. "Wife or co-founder? A quiet battle brewing behind Neurospan's empire." The article quoted old professors, colleagues, even an early investor who admitted he'd always thought Maya was the technical brains in the early days. Social media turned fast. Women flooded the comments. "She built it and he erased her." Classic case of a man stealing credit. How many more Mayas are out there? Daniel's PR team scrambled to respond. They posted a photo of us from 6 years ago with a caption, "Behind every great man is a great woman." That was the final straw. I posted my own photo, the signed waiver, dated and sealed. No caption. It went viral in 4 hours. Then came the deposition. Russell advised me not to be emotional. But I wasn't angry, I was precise. Daniel sat across from me in his crisp designer suit, suddenly silent. I watched his fingers twitch as my lawyer asked him to read aloud Clause 42B. His voice faltered. I saw him realize right there that the trap had been his own arrogance. "So," the attorney asked, "you signed this document voluntarily?" "Yes." "Without reading it?" "I trusted it." "Trusted who?" He looked at me. "I trusted her." "And you humiliated her on national TV 4 days later?" Objection. Overruled. I was under stress. But it was over. The board got involved next. One by one I began receiving calls, not from Daniel but from his partners, his shareholders, his venture backers. Some tried to offer settlements. Others threatened to drag it out in court. Russell and I responded the same way to all of them. "Let's meet in court." Then, in a twist even I didn't expect, one of the lead investors flipped. Mr. Addison, an old-school tech magnate who had been quiet during the rise of Neurospan, submitted an amicus brief in support of my claim. His daughter had followed my story. She'd shown him everything. And he found in his archives early drafts Daniel had sent him, with my name in the byline. He attached it, and just like that the tide turned. Daniel cracked. He went live on a podcast 2 weeks before the trial and tried to spin the story. She was just my wife. I never thought she'd want to hurt me. But he didn't realize the host had done her homework. She pulled up a recording, a leaked rehearsal from the Tech World Awards, where Daniel practiced the very line that had humiliated me. The host paused, looked straight into the camera and said, "You didn't slip up. You planned it." That clip broke the internet. Then came the email. A subject line with just 4 words. "We're ready. Court date set." Inside, the full docket, witness list, and a note from Russell. He thought the worst thing you could do was take your name off his company. He was wrong. The worst thing you could do was put it back on. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice. It was for every hour I spent coding in the dark. Every coffee I bought with tip money while he shook hands with VCs. Every time I was told to wait outside the boardroom. The trial was set for March 12th. And I had one more surprise for him. A witness he never expected. Courtrooms are strange places. They're not like the movies. No pounding gavels or screaming objections. Just tension. Quiet tension. The kind that hums in your ears and makes your heartbeat sound louder than your own thoughts. The day I walked into the courthouse, everything was quiet, but inside me, everything was roaring. Daniel sat on the other side of the room, jaw tight, flanked by 3 lawyers. He looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but something about him had shrunk. Maybe it was the weight of the press outside. Maybe it was the weight of me finally standing tall. The judge entered. The crowd stilled. The trial began. We didn't need a jury. Just truth. Russell opened with a simple statement. This isn't just about a contract. It's about a woman's labor being erased. Until one signature changed everything. He laid it out piece by piece. The evolution of the Neurospan prototype. My role. The documents. The contract. Clause 42B. Daniel's signature. The press clip where he dismissed me. The photo of the signed waiver. I watched the judge's eyes narrow. Then Daniel's side spoke. They said I was bitter. That I was riding on his success. That I never filed for co-ownership until after the humiliation. That this was revenge disguised as legality. I could feel the room lean with tension. It was going to be close. But they didn't know I had one more card. Her name was Vanessa, a junior developer from the early days. She worked with Daniel and me for months before the funding hit. Young, soft-spoken. She left the company before it went public. I hadn't spoken to her in 5 years. But Russell found her. And she had something no one else did. A video clip recorded during a team brainstorm session at my apartment. In the clip, Daniel is on camera holding a whiteboard marker, looking at Vanessa, saying, "This is Maya's structure. Don't mess with the link logic." I couldn't crack it, but she did. He laughs. Vanessa smiles awkwardly. And the camera pans to me in the background, typing, completely unaware I was being filmed. That clip played in the courtroom. When it ended, you could hear a pen drop. Daniel's lawyer objected, said it was informal, non-binding, out of context. The judge leaned forward and asked one question. "Mr. Carter, did you or did you not refer to the neural link system as your wife's work, in your own words, on video?" Daniel looked directly at me. And for the first time in years I saw it, the fear. Not anger. Not arrogance. Fear. He answered, "Yes, I did. That was it." The judge ruled within the week. All rights to the foundational Neurospan framework transferred to me. Daniel was ordered to remove all reference to himself as sole creator. His personal earnings tied to Neurospan since its original sale, seized in part and reallocated. But that wasn't the real victory. The real moment came after the verdict, when Daniel, white-faced, still sweating, followed me outside as the cameras rolled. He touched my shoulder, leaned in like we were still the people who used to split Chinese takeout over code bugs, and whispered, "You really did all this. You really took it all." I turned to him and said, "No, Daniel. You gave it to me. The day you signed that paper without reading it. Right before humiliating me on national TV. And then I walked away." The aftermath was brutal for him. Investors withdrew. Sponsors vanished. His new software launch failed. Sienna issued a quiet statement about having no involvement in the dispute, then deleted every photo of them online. He disappeared from the tech world within 6 months. Meanwhile, I didn't return to D&M Innovations. I started my own firm. Not flashy. Not about revenge. Just about giving other women what I never had: resources, credit, and control. I gave Vanessa a full-time role. She cried when I handed her a new laptop and said, "This time you're not just in the room. You're at the table." 1 year after the trial, I was asked to speak at a Women in Tech event. The theme was visibility. I told my story. Not the courtroom drama, but the years before it. The struggle. The silence. The slow erasure. At the end of my talk, someone asked, "What was the one moment when it all changed?" Pause. And I said calmly, "When I stopped asking for permission and started reading everything he asked me to sign." Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.